Hi everybody and welcome my friends to the show that never ends. It sort of came to a funny end last week. Kieran, you need to say goodbye.
Bye.
Right, that's it. That's got that. Now you can say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Kieran has been to it's been basically a drinking festival, hasn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I've been doing on weekends.
Yeah, Kieran has been to a music festival. Or a drinking festival. How were the toilets? Pleasant?
Let's just say that my trainers didn't make it home.
Trainers didn't make it home. Now there's a question, isn't there? A question. Talking of questions, before we get on to Keith the Duck, we're going to look, we could say Steve the Bruce, but we'll come on to him later. 5 questions for Kieran. Let's see if I can actually read all 5 out without messing this up. 1. There you go. There's your first one. I was.
You didn't,
No, I started on the wrong one.
Absolute muppet, honestly.
Right.
I even told him beforehand, prepare yourself for the question. You know which ones you're going to be asking out. Still read that the wrong one.
Who's been drinking?
Yeah.
Right. Who is the only Republic of Ireland international to have scored more than 100 goals in the Premier League? He's not going to look.
Ireland.
Yeah. Who is the only Republic of Ireland?
Oh, Robbie Keane.
You're correct, Robbie Keane. Who is the highest scoring midfielder in the Premier League with a record 177 goals?
Frank Lampard.
You're right, Frank Lampard. Who is the highest scoring defender in the Premier League history with a record of 41?
Isn't it John Terry?
It is John Terry. Oh, isn't he doing well, everybody?
Practicing.
One defender scored 22 penalties, which is a record for a Premier League defender. Can you name the player?
22 penalties.
22.
Defender. There was a really obscure one who played for like Burnley or something. I can't remember his name. But then I remember Roy Keane always talking about Dennis Irwin as a good set piece, so I guess I'll go with that.
No, I'm afraid not. David Unsworth.
Don't know who that is.
No, I could give you his whole history where he was born,
sure,
but we don't have time for that.
Who does he play for?
Didn't he play for Everton?
Oh, that doesn't ring a bell, actually. Yeah.
Who are the boring team like Everton?
Yeah.
Who are the only 2 Netherlands internationals to have scored over 100 goals in the Premier League? Now, you've only got 3 out of 4 so far. So
that's only 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
One of them's Van Persie.
Yeah, so you half a point for that.
I'm trying to think, is he Dutch? Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank?
You're correct.
He is
so
Dutch,
about
I
that.
think he might be French or something, but he is Dutch.
No, he's definitely, well done.
Yeah.
So, shame you got one wrong, but there you go.
I wasn't going to ever get that one.
Yeah, it's one in sort of somebody out of sort of history a bit there. Okay, well, we're going to talk a bit about Wycombe Wanderers in one sec, just to say that somebody put their little message on our one last week to give us the names of the Wycombe players who are internationals. So if you're interested, please look at what he put down. Thank you very much for that info. And of course, the Ipswich game has been postponed because of all these superstars that play for Wycombe. Well, obviously we weren't there. Travelling to Sunderland isn't somewhere that appeals, and certainly to have watched what I saw as highlights, you can't judge highlights particularly well. Wycombe weren't going to go there and have 15 shots on target.
No.
Didn't look like they had hardly any. Reading what Ainsworth wrote afterwards said that we didn't take our chances. So I'm guessing there were more chances than what was on the highlights. What do we feel about having lost to Sunderland? Are we worried that here we go?
No, it's not the worst thing in the world. Sunderland are now top.
They are
now top. So if you're basing it off that, you're gonna have some losses in the season. I mean, we said we were like optimistic about the season, but we weren't suggesting that we were going to go invincible kind of thing. It wasn't anything like that. So a 3-1 loss away to Sunderland, who are now top of the table, is not the worst thing in the world.
No.
And some of their goals were really good.
The second one was terrific. Was it
McGeady?
The second one was brilliant.
Yeah, what are you going to do about that sort of thing?
That was class.
And they're the sort of goals we don't concede very often. So I think it's just one of those. I mean, it could be a little bit kind of like demoralising that the one goal we scored was a deflection. It was pretty rubbish. And the only other thing I saw was an Akinfenwa shot from 20 yards out after some really good control. So obviously we don't know whether we did have many other clear-cut chances, but that might be a little bit of a dampener on it. But it's not horrendous, I don't think. And we have signed a striker this week. So maybe
I don't know much about him, but
with Bristol Rovers, I didn't think we liked Bristol Rovers.
We don't like Bristol Rovers. No. Why don't we like Bristol Rovers?
Because League 2, 2014, when we were going to go down, and they went down instead, and they invaded our pitch.
Yes.
And Nathan had some beef with that guy on Twitter. It was really funny. If you remember that, it was good stuff.
Do we have anything else we want to say about Wycombe, really? Other than actually, we have got the Manchester City game coming up where we can actually do what other teams can't. Would we be happy with a 5-0 loss at the Etihad? Would you? I mean, what would we go to get? Anything?
You go to get the experience of going to a big Premier League ground in which your team has the opportunity to potentially be one of the best teams ever made, quite frankly.
This is it. You see, I work on that evening now,
and I don't have money. Well, I do have money, but I don't want to spend it on
travelling from Portsmouth.
Yeah.
The problem here is I'll have to get the night off. The chances of winning are
pretty remote.
Draw. But what happens if I'm at work and they do it? What happens then? I will go to my grave having missed the biggest game in Wycombe's history, above Middlesbrough. It is the one that I've talked about for my whole life, the 0-0 I saw at Lokes Park when Wycombe drew with the team sat at the top of the Football League, Middlesbrough at the time with Jack Charlton's manager. This is the next one, isn't it? And if they get a 0-0, you'll be telling your kids, well, you haven't got any at the moment, have you?
Not yet.
No. So I'd check after this weekend, this festival. That you were there when Wycombe drew 0-0 with Manchester City.
It's not even Man City, though, is it? It's the fact that Gareth Ainsworth would beat Pep Guardiola.
Well, maybe he could have his job, couldn't he? I mean, he's leaving shortly.
It would be the most insane thing in the world. But the chances are it is a good 1% chance that we do it. But what happens if
a good 1% chance?
A good 1%.
Dream on, boy.
The only thing you can think as to whether we could win is that they play it would have to be their D team. Not even B, not even C. It would have to be D.
So what you're saying then is you seriously think that Manchester City, with a £960 million team, might beat Wycombe Wanderers. 960 million. Do you realise that's what nearly £1 billion those players cost?
How much do you reckon our starting 11 would cost?
I'm
going to say about
not £1 billion. I know that much.
I'm going to say 2.5.
I mean, that's right, isn't it? 960,000. That is nearly £1 billion.
Million, yes.
Yeah, sorry, that is nearly £1 billion, isn't it?
That is nearly £1 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, they £1 billion that team, and we're playing them. And Ainsworth, let's be frank about this, stands more chance of taking over that team than Mr. Arsenal manager at the moment.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not very difficult, is it?
Yes, and I bet you that's what he wanted. I bet he went to Arsenal for managerial training, ready for that Manchester City job.
Wasn't the place to go, was it?
I don't think he's going to get it. Do you? No.
I mean, if we're talking about Arsenal, have you seen Ainsley Maitland-Niles? You know.
Yeah, he's going.
Well, it's not just that. Do you see what he posted on Instagram today?
No.
He was like, I just want to go somewhere where I'm appreciated at Arsenal. And this is on like his public social media. He's just roasting the club, even though, you know, supposedly he's been there since he was like 13, 14, whatever. How insane is that?
Well, he's not the only one.
They are
not the only one. Yeah, we will come to that. We will come to that.
But to end on Wycombe, are we going? We don't know.
Oh, God.
It's like we don't want to, but we're going to have to.
You're going to have to. Yeah. Look, I will pay for you to go.
Oh, thank you.
You can pay me back in monthly.
Well, I'm sure if I put a £1 bet on Wycombe winning, I'll probably make it back. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I'll just do that.
Good. Yeah. Okay. What about the rest of that league? Do you know anything else? Okay,
it's quite tight at the top. That's all I say. I
saw
the table.
Yeah, Ipswich did win, John. Well done. Ipswich actually did win this time. Interesting that they won. It's taken a while. It takes time for some of these teams to come together. I mean, they're a pretty good team. If you look at the players they have, they should be doing better. Will they? Well, who knows? But they should.
Did you say they won?
I thought they won.
No. Hang on.
Yes, they did.
No, they drew 2-2 to Wimbledon. Wimbledon scored in the 95th minute. That's probably why you missed it.
That's why I missed it. Oh, dear. Sorry, John. Sorry, John. I thought they'd seriously won that. Obviously, I didn't look in the last seconds. I'd given up looking on my phone in the 95th minute. I'd worked on the theory that Wycombe were probably not going to win. Oh, I am sorry. I do know Oxford won.
I bet you had a bit of a bit of a rant there to talk about Ipswich and how they're going to rise up from this. But now it's like, oh, they're still crap.
How did Wigan get on?
Wigan, they are in a league. Of course, they're in a league.
Yeah. They missed going down by 1 point.
They beat Portsmouth 1-0, which is a good result.
Well, it was, and the reason I'm coming on to that, let me just quickly find it. That's good. We like Portsmouth losing, don't we, Kieran? Keep it quiet.
I lived there, but
Yeah, keep it quiet. The reason I must stop saying There's a bit
but
on.
You barely said there. It's fine, bro.
On Red Dwarf, where he sings the song. And that's where I obviously get it from, because I love that song, the song.
The song.
Yeah. That's where it's something like that. What I'm going to look up quickly on here is, I can't spell Keith. There we go. Yeah. Do you know all about him?
No.
Okay, this is at Wigan. I believe would the poor person. I mean, nobody can sort of control everything that's going on at the moment. And there have been a few people that have passed away, and it's been sort of very sad time for a lot of people. And so a Wigan fan is on this sort of is on one of these sort of post things online where there's a group of people all interested in Wigan that put their stuff up of what's going on. And there's a guy called Keith Valentine, who has lung cancer. Now, there was somebody else put up, not realizing what was going on. It all got very confusing, but somebody put up, Keith has passed away. And one of these people on this post sort of thought, Keith Valentine's passed away. Oh, that's sad. And put up on this post all about, oh, it's sad, sorry, Keith's gone, etc. And of course, what they got wrong was it was somebody's pet. Keith had actually died. Okay, so this guy had, it ended up being sort of publicised that he was dead from his lung cancer, when in fact it was somebody's pet duck, Keith the duck. And so Keith Valentine read all this, that he'd died, on this post, and everybody was sort of writing, oh, I really like the bloke, he was really great, he was a good friend to me, and all this. He read all this on his phone, and he wrote, I'd like to say a big thank you to you, everyone, for all your messages of sympathy and condolences. It's nice to know just how much you all miss me. But I can reassure you that I've not popped my clogs just yet, and my fight against lung cancer continues. I must be the first person in history to get their messages of sympathy before I've even died. I blame Daryl, only he could have a pet duck called Keith, and that's another reason why I hate the name Keith. So, in the end, this sort of started to go overboard, this whole story. And the guy that put up that Keith Valentine had died wrote, I'm truly sorry, there has been cross wires. A friend said Keith was dead. I assumed it was Keith Valentine. It was Daryl's pet duck, also called Keith. I'm highly embarrassed. I hope this hasn't caused any offence. Sorry again. Anyway, this just kept going, bigger story, and ended up on loads of different things, and it ended up on Twitter, and the owner has got a picture of the duck saying gonna miss him and all this, and it ended up, and eventually that game against Portsmouth, there was a 1 minute silence for Keith the duck at half time. And also the guy, this Keith guy, I believe, was given a sort of a great day. He had one of the boxes, yeah. And it was made a really big thing of him taking it so well, etc., etc.
So the club knew that.
It got, because once it got all sorted out, they worked out, and they had a special Keith the Duck 1 minute silence at half time. So there you go. I thought that was quite an entertaining story.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know though that if like all the messages you get after you die. Like, could you imagine, like, just reading everything?
Yeah, he was a bastard. Couldn't stand him. His
singing in the crowd was rubbish, but he was a good lad or something like that.
So there's what I thought was a really interesting read and a laugh. There are a few other things before we talk about Premier League football. And there's quite a few things to talk about there, I might add. But a few little stories and a few little things I want to drop in today to have a little bit chat. First thing is, you were caught on camera, Kieran, in the Bucks-Free Press. Not in the Bucks-Free Press, it was online, wasn't it?
It was just on Wycombe, it was like a picture thing.
In the tent with your mates with a pint in your hand.
Yes.
As per. So I was thinking, you've got funny things that you see, and you often get that awful one. Excuse me, for any sort of Christian friends out there, blah, blah, blah. But you get the ones where, you know, like that on film, you get those sort of, you know, people behind the goal doing things, and I sit there and thinking, oh, I bet his parents are really proud. And you get the one where Mr. Wycombe, who now plays for Sunderland, went over. Oh no, I went over, and you've got the bloke kicking the what's it out of him over the stand. How would you like to be caught on camera when they do the pictures? I mean, like, there's a few of me in the Bucks Free Press over the years of being at Wycombe games. Can you imagine being caught? You know, so how? I mean,
the most
possible.
Recent one was it you looking at your phone, and I was like just looking over your shoulder, looking at your phone. I assume we just must have been looking at scores at half time or something.
Right.
That was a bit of a rubbish one, because you were just looking at your phone. Whereas you want it surely to be you celebrating a goal or something.
Right. So you want celebration.
Yeah.
Because of course they could catch some very awkward shots, couldn't they? I mean, is there things, facial expressions? I mean, you think of how much effort you put in for that family photo.
I think I know where you're going with this story.
Do you?
Was it Cambridge or someone like that? There was a football team that posted a photo of people saying something to do with they're in love or something like that.
I wasn't. I wasn't going anywhere.
So Cambridge posted a photo on their social media of what they thought was a couple being like, it was something to do with loving Cambridge, but then also the love they have for each other,
right?
As in they were getting married or something like that. It ends up being they were brother and sister. And so it was quite awkward, really, because like the guy posted underneath a comment being like, "That's my sister," and he got loads of likes and everything. But it was a good laugh.
That is good. That's good. Yeah, nice bit of incest on Cambridge Football Club. Yeah.
Sorry, that wasn't where you were going.
I was going to say, if it was Norwich, it'd be understandable. But yeah.
I shouldn't say it's about Millwall.
I shouldn't say about Norwich, really. I was just thinking, you know, yeah. So I was just wondering that perfect photograph, because I must admit I don't actually know what I do when Wycombe score. Do you?
You put your arms up, like you go like yeah, and then that's about it, and then you start clapping.
Right.
I normally just start clapping, to be honest. I'm like, yeah, and then just start clapping. I don't put my arms up.
So I don't do anything embarrassing?
No, not particularly.
That's good to hear.
There's a lot worse.
Right.
So I don't know what else you can really do apart from put your arms in the air and start clapping, to be honest.
People swear a lot, don't they?
People like to swear a lot, either at the opposition goalkeeper or like the ref or something like that. Or run down to the front, don't they? They run down to the front to try and grab a hug with whoever scores.
Yeah. I mean, players, their celebrations are ridiculous. I mean, they really should get a better. Yeah, it's the one who was it? I can't remember who it was. There's no point me trying, but it's the one whose wives are pregnant and they stick the ball under their shirt. Well, I mean, why can't they? I mean, what's it got to do with that? I mean, absolutely nothing. Why can't they just jump up and down and say yes?
It's because they scored a goal in I was going to say in memory of their child. It's not what I meant. In like representing that they're happy about them having a child.
Right.
It is a bit rubbish. I do agree, but
Antonio last week was grabbed his cardboard cutout.
That was so weird.
What I want to know, did he bring that cardboard cutout with him, especially? I mean, did he get it made? Was it already at the ground? If so, where? Because I wonder whether he actually went out and got that made all week to take, just in case he scored, where he could hold the cardboard cutout of himself up.
Well, it couldn't have been that just someone randomly threw it at him, could it?
No.
It's quite a way for the fans to...
Because, especially at West Ham. Because remember, that was he'd just broken the record for the amount of goals scored by a West Ham player in the Premier League.
Mm.
And so I wonder whether he actually even took it with him.
Yes, he did.
He took it with him. He got it made and took with him. Well, what really? I mean, really, how sad is that? Okay.
You quite like Antonio as a footballer as well.
I do. I think he's brilliant. He's brilliant. Better than Kane. We'll come on to him later.
Oh, you love Kane?
Yeah, just like all the Spurs fans do for some strange reason.
Antonio says he had to break the record with an iconic celebration. So maybe more kids will bring cardboard cutouts of themselves to games and start kissing them when they score.
Yeah.
Shall I do that for a Sunday league game?
You could, couldn't you?
Yeah. You have to score though, don't you? Otherwise, you look like
a bit of a volley. I mean, if you're carrying it backwards and forwards with you in the car, sat in the passenger seat,
you have to be very confident.
Yeah, that's my twin brother. Yeah. Okay, moving on then. I read a piece about you know how I'm always going on about how dire sort of the chit chats on these TV programs. I read a whole article about how Match of the Day has had its time and it needs revamping. Now, the first thing that I want to ask is, why do they always get round to discussing how Alan Shearer has not won anything? How do they always turn it round to that? But the question I've really got is, how would you revamp Match of the Day to make it entertaining instead of listening to the twats?
I don't think you do. I think the problem with it is now is that Sky Sports recently, like maybe a couple of years ago, got the rights to show highlights of all the Premier League games pretty much like 10 minutes after they'd happened.
Okay.
So the idea of sitting down, watching the highlights, there's not an awful lot of point because you've already probably seen it. Because, I mean, Saturday night, you've probably already, you might be out at the pub or something, you might be out with some friends. And so, for one, you're not even be in to watch it. And it's not the only source of watching highlights. So it's not like you have to get up in the morning and watch it when they put it on at like 7:30 in the morning. Because that was my one and only source of watching highlights of Premier League games, what it used to be. I remember one time in particular, I remember Suarez scored a hat-trick. I only realised the day after that one of the goals was from the halfway line. I didn't have a clue.
What they do they not, is clear up the questions that you might have about the game, i.e., was he offside or wasn't he? Do they do that for us?
I think they have to, don't they? In terms of analysis, I think they've also been taken over in that respect, because that would be the only way, or the only time you ever see like analysis of football, and you thought, oh, that's interesting. But Sky Sports, when Carragher and Neville do it now, like they have every stat on the planet, and it is very, very interesting. So Match of the Day has kind of fallen behind in that respect. So that might be it as well.
I think they actually don't need Gary Lineker and Shearer, etc., do they? They could just have all the clips they're going to show of those games and just run them as a clip on BBC in one section called Matches of the Day, and just run all the clips with a referee in between each game saying there was a question about this, he was offside, they don't need to show you, just say yes or no, and you have I thought it was a free kick, or I thought it was a penalty. Just have a separate referee who's employed by BBC, and just in between each thing, taking seconds. Because the other thing you can, just 1 second, the other thing I was going to say is chatting to these managers, such as, this is where Steve Bruce comes in, vague seems to be accepted when interviewing managers who don't seem to understand the laws of the game. He said something like, this was last week, don't get it anymore. They can't make up their minds whether it's an elbow or a toenail that is offside.
Mm.
But they do know. So why did he say that? They do know. What is he talking about? Does he not know the law of football?
He's assuming that the consistency isn't there, isn't he?
But anyway, so is that all we need? And put it on BBC I so we can watch it when we want.
I mean, that for one. I mean, making BBC iPad probably more accessible as well. That's probably a thing. But I think in terms of the characters they have on there, I think Lineker and Wright are fine because they are somewhat entertaining and they can come out with some funny moments at times. But Shearer isn't like you.
Did you know Shearer didn't actually win the league?
No, he did win. He did win the FA Cup. He did win the league. It's the fact that when you watch Monday Night Football with Carragher and Neville, you watch it sometimes because they're on it, because they're entertaining. You don't watch Match of the Day because they are the people who are presenting it are entertaining. So maybe they need to sort out who's the regular on there. It can't be Danny Murphy because he's even worse. Yeah,
or that other Wally, Micah Richards. Have you ever heard him try and do an analysis of a football match? He gets as far as there's 11 on each side, and that can get confusing. If a player's sent off, he gets confused.
He's fine. He's not great. He's fine.
Okay, so are we going to get rid of Match of the Day and just put it on BBC I?
It'd be a shame, but it's falling behind, isn't it? It's falling behind Sky.
You see, I like the way they do. I was going to say on drama. It's not on drama, is it anymore? It changed all the League One and all that. Quest. I like the way they do the Championship 1 and 2. They get through the lot. They show you as much of the games as. They're pretty quick at getting through the analysis. They don't mess around. We don't interview every manager, even those that can't speak English. And they get on with it. And you get to see your team at some point in that analysis. And I think that is a far better way of dealing with it. And they also have sensible people on the couch who are entertaining as well. Okay. State of the pitch. We talked about changes, things we'd sort of, like to mess around, change football, improve how we improve football. We spoke about that ages ago. I want the pitches dug up. I want a bit more entertainment with not having a nice smooth pitch.
But you're complaining the pitches are too good.
Yeah, I want them to sort of go down the pan over Christmas. Give teams like Burnley a chance.
You hate Burnley.
I know, but it'll give them a chance. It'll make it much more entertaining, I think, if they have to play on crappy pitches.
What has prompted you to have this idea?
Because
you're wanting the quality of football to go down.
The reason that it just sort of I thought that was because I was listening to a radio of a football game and the commentator started off on it was really quite strange because he started talking about here we are on this lovely evening, the sun is out, everybody's at this, and oh, it's gorgeous to be back, and the crowd are back like we didn't know. And he started going, I thought he was doing a poem, it's a football match, and he started about the birds tweeting in the background.
You want to be rough.
And then, of course, he says, and the pitch, look at the state of that wonderful pitch. And I thought, but they always are now. That's a daft comment. It's like saying, look at the cars go up and down the road. It just seemed a bit, and I thought, maybe to say that he needs a few crap pitches knocking around. And then it's worth making that mention.
You can't dictate which one's going to be crap, though, can you?
No.
And we've always been like, oh, Wycombe's got one of the best pitches in League One or League Two, whichever league we've been in, and we've been proud of that.
But it'd be fun, though, wouldn't it, to kick the ball when it comes to a dead stop in the puddle.
To kick the ball and you break your ankle whilst you do it.
Yeah, all right. I'll let you off. I just thought that was just a daft comment, so I wrote "state of the pitch" down on a piece of paper. Do you think Arsenal? Well, actually, we'll come back to Arsenal in a second.
Well, we might as well do that when we do our predictions, I guess.
Do you think, with all these coaches, you have a coach with throw-ins? We brought this up the other day. Coach for the corner kicks, coach for this. Coach. Do you think it's about time they got coaches in for wasting time?
I think it'd be too immoral.
Because that wins games, and I bet that wins. Ipswich could do with one, for instance. I mean, couldn't they? Do you think they get taught how to waste time? Wycombe sing-song about at the end of each game are about, we're the great wasting time team. Do you think they get taught? And if not, why don't they get a specialist in?
I think you get told, not necessarily taught, because there's evidently teams that can do it much better than others. I think that's just down to individual players. I'm not convinced they get taught. They do get told what to do and how to do it. But that's the thing, isn't it? It's too immoral a job to have in terms of being a time-wasting coach. And I'm not sure you're literally able to do that. Yeah, I mean, it would win games, though.
Big good idea, wouldn't it?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That just crossed my mind when they were talking about, so and so's got a coach for this and a coach for that, and I thought, well, that wins games.
It's not quite on par with, but it's nearly on par with getting a coach in about how to injure a player just for that game without breaking their leg.
Because it always sort of crossed my mind when they go running off to the corner. Two players, because they're not very good at doing that, and that never wastes time. It gives them the ball back for a goal kick every time. They'd be better not going to the corner and going about 10 yards away from the goal line and doing it round the throw-in sideline. So at least the other team only actually get a throw-in in their own half rather than a goal kick. But that's my that was my opinion. Okay. Other things, defender, they call them. The last thing last one I'm going to bring up before discussing Premier League was, do you get fed up with them talking about players they call false nines?
Well, I can't really, because
they're just number 11s, aren't they?
My favourite team is based off of false nines, so.
Can you tell me what a false nine, what position they play?
A number 11 is a winger. A false nine is in the middle, but behind the wingers. They're more of a centre attacking mid than a striker. So, like Firmino's not a striker; he's more of a attacking midfielder.
Well, call him an attack. Why? What funny name to give a footballer? It's like saying he's a false goalkeeper. He's a left. Because he defends.
I think it's because if you don't have him, then you don't have a striker technically on the pitch. Because you can't call Mane and Salah strikers because they're wingers.
Yeah.
And so to make when they say 4-3-3 or 4-4-2 or something, it makes more sense to call it 4-3-3 as opposed to 4-3-1-2 because the two aren't strikers.
Right. All right.
It does make sense, but then I do know what you mean.
I was going to say there's one other thing, but that sort of I just jot things down as the week goes. You see, managers who are going first, Kieran. We haven't had any managers sacked yet.
Arteta.
You think?
No.
No.
He'll win a game or two.
Well, he's just spent more money than any other team in the Premier League. Well, in fact, in English football this summer. So he also got promoted from head coach to manager. So he had his hand in those buyings. So he was given the cash to go out and build his team. And as yet, those players haven't really joined or played for it. So they're not going to sack him before he's played his players, is he? So where do you reckon? Because Tony Pulis is sat out there waiting for a job, mate. I mean,
who have you got? I'm trying to think who's towards the bottom of the Premier League who's not Arsenal.
Well, Norwich.
Watford manager's not a bad shout because they sack people left, right, and centre, and they're not very good. So Watford could potentially be up there. I don't even know who the manager is. I can't remember his name.
It's another Spanish bloke.
Yeah.
That's a bit rude, isn't it?
Sounds a bit
who cares about his name? He's Spanish.
Yeah. But I mean, but it is true though. I mean, no idea where it comes from. Who he is. I couldn't even tell you what he looks like. I don't have a clue. Because you just know in like 5 games' time he won't even be there. So I'll go with Watford manager.
Right.
Whoever he is. Arteta will win a game or two and it'll be fine. And also, they have no one that they can bring in at the moment. There's no real manager available who I can think of.
Right. How long are Newcastle going to put up with Steve Bruce?
To the end of the season, or
the end of this season?
Yeah, well, maybe even beyond. Yeah, I mean, if he finishes higher than 14th, he is most definitely there next season. If he finishes below that, then there will be pressure on him, pressure on Mike Ashley for him to go. Although in saying that, I don't think Mike Ashley cares about what the fans think whatsoever. So he'll still probably be there because they're not doing too awfully.
Okay. Well, we don't really have any fixtures, do we? Next week. So let's have a chat about the games that we had. Well, so we might as well start with number one.
It would have been. Was it Friday? No, it would have been. No.
Okay. Aston Villa, Brentford, 1-1. Well, guess who scored? Tony got his first goal in the Premier League. Good. I would say away at Aston Villa was a good result, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, you expect Aston Villa to be at least top 10. And for Brentford to get a point away from home against a top 10 team, they will most definitely take that.
I think Brentford would be happier of the two.
I mean, Aston Villa have to win those sort of games, don't they?
They do.
For where they want to get to.
I mean, Brentford, that's third game, haven't lost.
No, they're doing all right, aren't they?
Yeah, they got to hang in there this 1 year, haven't they?
Yeah.
And pick up the cash. That is what they need. They got to hang in there and do a lead.
I think the one thing with them is that I don't know their team off by heart, but I can't think of too many players with Premier League experience in their team.
Brentford.
Yeah.
I don't think there are.
Courtney. Oh no, that's for Villa. Pontus Jansson played for Leeds a lot. He was okay.
I've heard of Rico Henry from somewhere.
No, he hasn't. I don't remember the name. Sergi Canos was at Liverpool for a bit. He didn't play for Liverpool in the Premier League, but he has been there. I don't recognise really any of the other names. And so they are lacking a bit in experience, I think.
But when you look at that Aston Villa team, there's some freaking good players in there.
They should absolutely win, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, Ings and Watkins. If If they could find a partnership between them two as opposed to having just one of them on the pitch, then
that's what he did. He brought on Watkins, Forings, I think,
for Young.
Oh, for Young. That was a shame, really. They only brought him on for 10 minutes.
They do play a 4-2-3-1, though, don't they?
Yeah.
Aston Villa. You kind of wish that they could try and get them together. I'm not sure they will, though.
Brighton, Everton. Brighton lost 2-0 to Everton.
Not doing too bad, Everton. Well, was it 2 wins and a draw? I think they've got. So it's a decent start.
Yeah,
nothing to shout about, but it's a decent start.
I thought Brighton were a little bit unlucky. I don't think Brighton have got anything to worry about this year. There's a lot of teams a lot worse.
Yeah, there's a lot of crap teams.
I like their manager. Everybody says that he's perfect as an England manager. He's got a reasonable team but loses, so that's perfect as an England manager, isn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not a winner.
I can't remember if they have anyone who's out injured, but just from looking at their bench, Everton's bench does look a little bit dry in terms of like bringing some players on to change the game.
Yeah, Iwobi
and Go. I mean, they're just standards squad players. But I mean, if they're on 7 points now, then that's still good, but it doesn't look lacking.
People talked about Demarai Gray and how they're keeping hold of him, but that's because he usually peters out. You see a star one day and nothing the next, and he has got to deliver this time.
He's one of those who produces moments at times, but has never ever been consistent.
No,
it's a bit like Iwobi for Everton.
Yeah,
I see down there. But it has the potential, but some games it happens, some games it doesn't.
How much did you see? Did you see what happened over the penalty?
No, I did not.
Calvert-Lewin, he scored.
Was it Richarlison?
Yeah. Oh, that bloke.
I don't like him.
What is it? I mean, has he got any mates in that team? Because I find it very difficult to be his friend, I think. Just to say, if nobody noticed or watched Match of the Day, that's exciting TV programme on Saturday night. If you didn't watch any of that, Everton got their penalty. He ran over, he picked up the ball and wouldn't give the ball back to the penalty taker. He is second, so it seems, on the list of penalty takers. But number one, it was on the pitch. And in the end, they had to grab the ball out of his hands to take the penalty. He's a grumpy, horrible, selfish footballer, I think.
I'm not sure it'll make too much difference at the end of the day, but because obviously he's been linked to PSG recently. If Mbappe leaves, and so maybe he's just trying to prove a point in that respect. But Everton didn't work for him because it probably just puts him in an even worse light than it did before.
Well, I would be really, really annoyed because as they actually mentioned on Match of the Day, that the penalty taker, in this case Calvert-Lewin, is under enough stress without having your own teammate not letting you take the penalty straight away and running away with the ball. I mean, that doesn't help, really, does it?
Well, I don't see the point at all, because if Richarlison takes it and then misses, that's even worse.
And if Calvert-Lewin had taken it and missed, it doesn't help, does it?
No, because then Richarlison's like, I should have taken it. I just told you so.
I think he should be fined for that, for not doing what he's supposed to do for your team.
I would have thought Benitez would give him a bit of a hair dry.
I would hope so. I think that is a selfish, horrible player. Liverpool won. Chelsea won. Now, everybody praising Chelsea on how great they did playing with a 10-man team. Let's clear one thing up. Was it their goal? Their goal. Yeah, fine. Can't complain. Good header. Should have been better defended. No players around him when he headed that ball in the net. Bad defending on Liverpool's part. Liverpool's penalty. First of all, was it a penalty?
Yes.
It was straight away. I mean, I think I actually shouted penalty for it hitting his right arm. Was it given for hitting his left arm?
No, was it not given his right arm?
Because it went down to his right. He actually went down to stop it going in. He moved to stop it. And then it hit his leg and then bounced off of his left arm, I think. And they mentioned that it was, it was because it came off of his left leg, And I thought, no, it was for the first one where he leant down.
At the end of the day, if Liverpool get a goal if his arms aren't there, and therefore it has to be a penalty.
Of course it was. Was it a red card?
According to the rules, yes, but I'd say probably not.
If you read the rules out, they read the rules out on Match of the Day. They read the rules out, and by those rules, if a player defends the opportunity of scoring a goal, it is a red card.
I think it does have to be, doesn't it?
It was a red card. What's the difference between that and tackling him?
Nothing really.
When you're the last man. And he had to be the last man. He was standing on the line.
It wasn't a completely blatant handball, but it was preventing Liverpool from scoring a goal using his arms.
And now Liverpool have a chance of missing the penalty.
Yeah.
I think it was a red card. I'm in no doubt. Straight away, I was sat watching that and I shouted straight away, that's a penalty, that's a penalty, that's a penalty. And everybody seemed to sort of, and I'm thinking, they're going to call that, surely they're going to call that. He's got to go, they've got to send him off. And
I think if you're...
Then your mum come into the room and then they gave the penalty.
Yeah.
I'd already decided.
I think if you're the other team, or if you're a team and you see that happen against you, then you're going to want it to be a red card, are you not?
So what I want to know, why do they all protest things that are the rules? Baffles me. Why do when given a penalty, why do they all go running after the referees? Blabbing. Why?
Because they're footballers, that's what they're supposed to do.
I think a referee should carry a stun gun to get rid of them. One of those police things, zap them on the pitch. If they come near, you just zap them. That'll serve them right.
Someone tells us it's going to happen.
I think that seems fair. I mean, don't use a baton, but one of these sort of gun things, I think it's fine. Man, do you want to go any further with it? Yeah, we will go frazzle further. Who won that game, really? Although it's 1-1, who won that game?
I mean, it's Chelsea, probably.
Do you think?
They probably got away with it. There was pretty much nothing that Liverpool could do in that second half because Chelsea just had every single player in their own box. They weren't going for it whatsoever. And so the chances of scoring were pretty much nil.
I worked on the theory that neither team could win, but Liverpool could lose. Chelsea were never going to win it. They could lose it. But that would be expected with 10 players. Liverpool might win it, but Chelsea had 10 players behind the ball. They were in a worse state like that than they were with 11 players on the pitch. If Liverpool wanted to win that game, they needed Chelsea to have 11 players.
Yeah.
But they would have stood a chance of losing. The chance of losing would have been more. So as soon as that player was sent off, they might as well both pack their bags and gone home because they would both be happy, sort of, with a 1-1.
I mean, Chelsea will be more happy than Liverpool at the end of the day because they get the draw away from home against one of the top 4. On
the other hand, they have lost a player for the next few games.
They have lost a player for the next few games, but it's not like they don't have anyone to replace them. So it's a bit annoying as a Liverpool fan, but not losing is also a good thing as well. So it is what it is. It's not the worst thing in the world.
Manchester City 5, Arsenal 0. Do you think Arsenal are happy not having lost by more? Sort of, I think.
Well, out of interest, because I wasn't sure at the time, did you think it was a red card?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, no doubt, no doubt.
No, I was probably drunk when I watched it.
Right, shouldn't tell me that.
Well, evidently, because I thought it was a bit.
What I thought was wrong.
I thought it wasn't awful.
What I thought was wrong was his manager patting him on the back when he came off.
Oh, really?
If I was his manager, he would have got a stare and taken a part in that dressing room.
I think it's because Xhaka has already been on the cusp of leaving, isn't he? And if he had to go,
what's this? 11 times he's been sent off.
It's quite a lot, isn't it?
What I want to know though is Arteta can be blamed as far as I'm concerned, because he went there and he played with one style of football that he plays with all the time, even though he was playing Manchester City. And even 2-0 down, 10 players, he carried on playing with the same football. What? He doesn't have anything up his sleeve. He doesn't have a talent. No, you stand there. I mean, where you got your own fans clapping the players, clapping the goals. I think that bloke.
It's difficult because I think.
Does he have a clue?
I think he does, but the problem is that he maybe still perceives Arsenal as this top tier team, whereas they need to act like they are a mid-table team, because that is what they are. If you go to Man City,
bottom at the moment.
Yeah. If you go to Man City thinking you're a top tier team, even though you're not, you will get ripped apart. They have to go there under the impression that they're going to have to defend a lot. They didn't do that.
Let's be frank.
They were almost on par.
Let's be frank. You've got two ways of playing City. You cannot play them at football.
No.
In their game. You either go as Leeds in the wallop and hope you get goals before they do, or you go as Burnley and pack your bags and sit at the back with one person up front and hope like mad 90 minutes goes fast. That is the only two ways it struck me that Arsenal could play, but they didn't. They went up there and had played ordinary football against a talent, as we've said, that they paid £1 billion for.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of going there, acting like a Burnley or a Leeds, or in their case, an Arsenal, they don't have that to act like a Burnley, do they? Because they have their defensive-minded players, but also your attacking-minded players need to do the defensive work as well, and they do not have that in any of their front players. Aubameyang would do it. Smith Rowe is only 20 or something. Has barely played in the first team. He's not going to be able to do it. Pepe is not a good footballer realistically. Lacazette can't do it. Saka has never been known for it. So their defense is just left completely exposed, and it's like 10 Man City players rushing on to their back four, and that's about it.
I want to see Arsenal play Southampton to get the truth. Okay, that's what I'd say.
Their games so far have been understandable as into why they've lost. Brentford's first game of the season, their first ever Premier League game, fine. You can understand.
Yeah, whoever ended up with Brentford, we would have gone on.
Chelsea 2-0 doesn't sound that horrendous.
No,
and obviously this one they had a red card and stuff. So they're on the absolute cusp of being judged as to be a mid-table / bottom of the table team, but you can't say it quite yet because their losses have been understandable.
Because I say Southampton because I'd stick Southampton somewhere down the middle, and if Southampton had played Brentford first game, I think anybody playing Brentford first game would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And then if they'd played Chelsea and Manchester City, you would expect Southampton to possibly have no points.
Yeah.
Or maybe one. And therefore, it's when they play a team such as Southampton, we're going to find out just how middle of the table are Arsenal. So on Southampton, Newcastle 2, Southampton 0. Now, did you see what happened in that game?
I saw the end of it. They won't be very happy, will they, Steve? Well, it was a silly penalty to give away. They couldn't just let the game die out, could they? They had to go and let Southampton through and give them a penalty for free, effectively.
Well, first of all, I could not believe he took Callum Wilson off unless he was injured in any form or fashion. Because let's be frank, Joe Linton be lucky to get a place for Wycombe in my book. Saint Maximin, you cannot just go down one player, just live off of one player. You cannot do that, and they are doing that. I'm not convinced he's got a clue.
Bruce.
Yeah. But what you do know is they were in the lead twice at home and gave it away twice.
The thing is, looking at their team, you wouldn't really bat an eye if they finished up 7th or 8th. I like the look of their team. There's a lot of decent players in there.
Do you think they just don't believe it?
Probably because they don't believe it. Probably because they've never had they obviously had Benitez, but their team was nowhere near as good as what it is now when he had them. There's quite a few decent looking players in there.
Well, he's got an attacking lineup. What's the back lineup like?
I mean, I remember Fabian, I think it's Cher. He got into the team of the season either a season or two ago, and he was very good. Lascelles is their captain. He's always looked pretty solid. And Fernandez, I don't know too much about, but he's probably an average centre back. Then they have Murphy and Rich as their wing backs, who were both okay. Willett came from Arsenal and was excellent for Newcastle last season. And then Wilson, St. Maximin. I love St. Maximin.
He's brilliant,
decent as well. So there's no reason why they shouldn't be higher up. Because they have in my opinion, they have a better team than Southampton do.
Yeah.
That's for certain.
Yeah.
I know they have Ward-Prowse, but that's about it. Ward-Prowse against Newcastle's team.
What about
maybe Romeo as a CDM? That's about it.
And we don't really know yet about Adam Armstrong playing in the Premier League.
He's missed a few.
Yeah, we don't know yet how he's going to cope in there. I mean, Blackburn Rovers, wasn't it? He came from.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the second highest goal scorer, of course, last year. Okay, moving on. Leicester, Norwich. Oh no, Norwich. Are they going to do sort of
the derby?
Yeah, they're going to do a derby, aren't they? What a waste of space. They scored a goal. That's the only thing that puts them above Arsenal, is that they've now scored a goal. And that was a penalty. I don't give them any hope. Sorry, you go down, get slaughtered. You go down, you come back up with the same team or weaker, and you expect to do what? Goodbye, Norwich. Take your money and run. Norwich are the sort of team that really annoy me because they ruin football for me, because they'll go back down to the Championship and give nobody else a chance to come up that year, because they will, but they won't use the spot that they get to stay up. They'll just come back down again. I think Norwich, I hope, in fact, they go down and cock it up in the Championship so they don't waste taking a space, because they've done that this year.
Again,
Brentford haven't. Brentford are a smaller team than Norwich, but they've actually grabbed their chance. Norwich haven't. Leicester, I worry about Leicester. They're not the team they were, and I know some people wonder about what I say about Vardy. He did score, but remember, that's his first goal since December, I think. First goal since December for his main striker. I think so.
Don't know. But either way, he's not the same as he was.
He's not.
And I think some of the players...
I'm not putting him down.
No.
He's 30-something, and he scored on his pace, and it ain't there anymore.
Some of the players, they kind of think are getting a little bit... It's weird to say, but they kind of look like they were a little bit bored of it. Like, there's been talks of Maddison leaving. He was
look good.
I mean, obviously, like a season or two ago, he looked absolutely magnificent, and now it's a little bit like he just wants to. He expects to have the chance to go to a Liverpool or a City. He wants to be the Jack Grealish, and he hasn't really turned into that. He has a few injuries and that sort of thing, so that's probably what helped him. But I think Leicester look a little bit bored.
Yes, they need a shake.
Which is a weird thing to say, because they won the FA Cup last
season. I know, I was just thinking that. What have they done in the last? Oh no, they won last year, more than Manchester United. West Ham. Now, West Ham, to me, look like the new Leicester. Would that be a fair comment?
Yeah, something like that.
There's no doubting that this guy, their manager,
Moyes,
this suits him down to the ground, this sort of team, doesn't it? Your big man up front with a solid team is what he does, isn't it? Which was possibly why Manchester United didn't suit him. West Ham, excellent. If you're a West Ham fan at the moment, you must be loving it. Watching decent football with a strong team. And what's their hope? European football? Possibly
coming fifth. That's their goal, isn't it? If you shouldn't come top four this season.
Isn't that what everybody's hoping? I had a Tottenham fan talk about hope we come fifth this year.
Well, it's under the assumption that Liverpool, City, United, and Chelsea will just run away with it.
So we have West Ham, Tottenham, Arsenal. No, not Arsenal.
No.
So West Ham, Tottenham,
Everton,
Leicester, Everton, all going for fifth, have we?
Pretty much.
So that's the exciting part.
You've got 4 teams potentially in the league as well. Unless you just go with Man City.
Crystal Palace.
Dead. They're
managed to get this draw.
They're not a very interesting team to talk about, to be honest with you now.
No. Will he be? Well, they're not going to sack him straight away, are they?
No. He's got 7. I mean, he's got a point. He's got a few points, hasn't he? He's got a few points. He's probably right.
The Burnley Leeds. Is it time for Burnley to say goodbye with Norwich? It is really, isn't it? 1-1 with Leeds.
I like Deitch, but he is the only thing that they offer in terms of some sort of entertainment.
Leeds have one style of football, and Burnley, I find it, this game,
I'm contrasting teams in the league.
I'm not sure this game was offering excitement. I don't know. I can't imagine it would have done.
No.
Can you imagine Burnley Leeds? Because Leeds need a decent team to play against for it to look decent.
Yeah.
What I did notice and listen to was the something about Burnley into kung fu fighting, because that's what they used on the football pitch. It was some comment like that by the manager, wasn't it? Tottenham 1, Watford 0. Can I just say here, I got written down, because we're going to come to Wolves and Man United and Tottenham, and I've got written down the second coming, which of course is Ronaldo, the prodigal son, which is Kane, returning home with his head held down, and I've got something about Wolves here, but yeah, Tottenham 1, Watford 0, and their decent player scored. Son.
Not that you meant it.
What would Kane do without Son? Just out of interest. I mean, could Tottenham cope without?
Yeah, but that's,
which one? Who's the better one?
I think that's suggesting that Kane's never going to have any decent players around him. And I mean, some players do have to have. They can't make things on their own. But you are right in that Son does provide an awful lot for Kane and has done in the past.
I'd be interested to see what happens this year, because being managed by your dad and your brother, obviously they're not businessmen, because they made a bit of a cock up, haven't they? Because next year, Harry Kane needs to move next year. And he ain't going to have many places left open to him.
Well, he's not going to have any, I don't think, because no one will be able to afford to get him out of his contract.
No, I think they've dug his grave, haven't they?
Yeah.
A 6-year contract dug his grave, and
the only thing he can wish for in terms of winning stuff is with England, and even that's a bit far-fetched.
If I was Kane, I'd be telling Daddy to piss off at the moment. Not done a very good job there, Daddy. You've ruined his career. I'd just like to thank him for that. And his brother, I believe, is the other one that's in there. Nice family business, the Kane business. Any comment of Watford? How long are they gonna?
They're at Norwich.
They're at Norwich.
I mean, the idea would be Norwich, Watford, and Burnley go down.
Yeah. Okay, and Wolves, Manchester United. Well, the cross went in again.
And it was a foul, by the way.
It was a foul, yeah.
In my opinion.
It was a foul. But in saying all that, Wolves, you've actually had 57 shots in the last 3 games, and none of those went in. That's not Manchester United's fault.
De Gea did make quite a few good saves, though.
But your goalkeeper is supposed to.
Hello, Roy Keane. That's his job.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything to be worried about, though. They have looked very good. But as you've got written down there, they do look like a Brighton from last season, in which they have lots of shots and don't score them.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing, you can't blame Manchester United for Wolves not scoring. And as much as I didn't want Man United to win, it's not their fault.
No.
They tried not to win. They even crossed the ball and it went in, whereas Wolves can't do anything. But finishing on the second coming, amen, he's back. Now, who expected that? Well, City certainly didn't. City were actually offered Ronaldo first. This was a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago, and they said, no, we don't want him. They said, go away, Juventus, we're not interested.
As they couldn't afford him.
They were hoping Kane was turning up. And so guess what happens? Kane doesn't turn up. So quickly, City say, we will have him. United here, City want him. Now, if they are going for him, so will we. So they went for him instead, along with Ferguson and everybody else at Manchester United, who managed to bring him along. So in the end, United didn't go for him because they wanted him. They went for him So City didn't get him.
Mm.
Now, if you think that's good or bad, well, had City got him, there was no way United were going to win the league. United getting him might actually mean they don't stand any chance of winning the league. And this is my theory, and we'll finish on this. Juventus scored 20 less goals when he played
in the league.
Yeah. Because he was God on the pitch. And when you were standing in front of goal to whack it over the line and he's standing next to you, you give him the ball. And that time means the chance has gone. And that is what happened. They had to build the team around him, and all the players had to treat him, whether they were told to or whether they just did. It meant that they scored a lot less goals with him on the football pitch. Now, they're, I think, quite happy that he's leaving. Will he be that problem? And how's Pogba going to feel with him standing in front? So Pogba now has the problem that he can't go running forward ever. He's got to pass the ball to God standing in front. Who takes all the free kicks and penalties? Does that mean he now has to take them? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't necessarily want him. He was told he was coming. And I think this causes a problem because now he has 9 players, good players, who play in 3 positions. What happens to Greenwood? Because they could lose Greenwood now. Because what are they going to do? What are they going to do with him? Put him as a substitute? My goodness, he's just coming into it, isn't he? Last year, a little bit young. This year, I mean, who would like? I mean, I wouldn't mind him playing. I mean, he is getting better and better.
Most informed player at the moment.
Absolutely. So what do? Play Ronaldo or Greenwood?
Can't not play him, can you?
He's 36. He's not going to change his game either. He's not going to be one of the team. He's going to play his style on that football pitch, not be managed.
Well, you don't want to imagine that Ole's going to tell him what to do.
No. And I think this may have just taken any chance of title away from Manchester United by getting Ronaldo. They'll sell more shirts. Oh yes, there'll be a lot more people wanting shirts, but that's not enough, is it? Do you think that's a fair comment?
I think it's valid to say that he could well have a detrimental effect on them. I mean, whether you're right or not, I have no idea. We'll wait and see. Do I think he will have a detrimental impact on them? Probably. Overall, probably not, but I don't think him being there makes that big a difference as people think it might. Because I think it'll average out in terms of whether it's a good or a bad thing. But then in saying this, we are kind of saying, because in my opinion, probably the second best player ever.
Yeah.
And we're saying that he's going to have a negative impact. I think that's probably a bit unfair. So, but
it's because of his age. If he was 23, it'd be different.
Not even that. If he was 30, it'd be all right. But he's 36.
Yeah.
He's not. He's only going to be there for max 2 years. And the way in which he will be a success there is if he lifts everyone else and takes kind of the role that he did at Portugal when they won the Euros. I mean, their manager's not the most fantastic either, and he had that kind of aura about him that brought everyone else up. If he can do that to United, and obviously score maybe 15, 20 goals, then it'll be definitely a benefit.
He didn't score. He hasn't scored many free kicks, you know. Everybody
Free
thinks
kicks
he's
trash.
He is. Everybody thinks he sticks them in the net. Have a look at the percentages. Most of his free kicks are crap. He doesn't score hardly any. Everybody knows of one or two because they're on YouTube all the time. But he is not very good at taking them. Is he going to keep taking all the free kicks? I don't know. Anyway, who's going to tell him to take the ball out?
It might be helpful because obviously Fernandez is Portuguese as well, and so they make it on all right.
Okay, we finished with that, sort of, except I've got one thing that I had to look up the rules of football for. Because at the weekend, in one of these games, goalkeeper holds the ball. Goalkeeper throws ball in air to kick it away. Player comes in from the side and kicks it in the net, and the goalkeeper is given a free kick.
Yes.
Why? I looked it up because, as far as I'm concerned, it's in the air. It's not under the goalkeeper's control. It's in the air. It's for anybody.
Yeah, but how is the keeper then supposed to do anything?
Exactly. So I looked up the rules of why that is a free kick because I wasn't quite sure. And the rules say a goalkeeper cannot be challenged by an opponent when in control of the ball with the hands. They can be challenged when they are in control of the ball with their feet. So if the ball is at their foot, they can be tackled. But if they have control of it, and just sort of throwing it up, control, as in, it doesn't have to be in their hands, but have control, then you're not allowed to challenge the goalkeeper. Okay? And there you go. They're the rules. Okay. I think that is everything I could think of. I think that's everything. So with that, we're going to leave that there. And so if you would like to say goodbye, and I'll say goodbye, and we'll see you again next week. Have we got anything to talk about next week? There's no games. There must be something. I'll turn up, mustn't there? Somebody be sacked. Okay, then we'll finish it there, and maybe next week's will be a short one. Okay, bye.